What if I told you there are really just three key ideas you need to really work on to maximize and be as effective as possible throughout your PhD? This is hour-long video, really great, insightful video on the basic principles every PhD student needs to know by James Hayton, PhD. I thought it was really great, had some really great insights, really great information, but I want to share with you my key takeaways from that video in roughly 10 minutes in case you don't have an hour's worth of time to really dive into that video. I watched the video several times, studied it, took notes. I also converted my handwritten notes into a PDF typed up document. So if you want that, check out the link down below, completely free for you. Now, before you can dive into what are the key things you need to do to be as effective as possible in your PhD, he mentions how it's important to talk about what is even the point of a PhD, because this is time where you're going to commit 3 to 5 years of your life. So first of all, the point of a PhD, my understanding, is to become an independent researcher. But he shares some key insights before he discusses what is actually the point. The skills that got you into a PhD program are not the same skills you need to actually be successful in the PhD program. That was mind-boggling. It seems kind of obvious after you say it, but it's so true. The skills that got you this far in your career are not the same skills you need to help you then succeed once you're in the PhD program. Think about the PhD also as not being the pinnacle of education, but actually being the entry point into a career in research. So with those two in mind, the real goal, aim of a PhD is to develop and then demonstrate the skills of a professional academic researcher. And whatever standard that you're setting out is going to be dependent and set by the field that you're studying and focusing in. So really the three main objectives of a PhD then, if your goal is to develop and demonstrate skills of a professional researcher, are to first get to know the literature and develop professional level research skills, and then demonstrate that knowledge and skill through projects and writing. We're going to dive into really how to get to know the literature and developing professional level research skills. How you practice and how you read makes a world of a difference. Just like with lifting weights, when you start off, of course, you're going to get stronger, but over time, just adding more weights to your reps are not going to help you. You're actually going to injure yourself, and eventually you're just going to plateau. So instead of thinking about adding more work or adding more weight to your PhD, think about improving the techniques that you're utilizing to approach your PhD. That's really how you go about getting to know the literature and really improving your skill sets. So he talks about spending more time on the fundamentals than the edge cases, taking the bulk of your time to spend on the component parts, not the big performance. He uses this great analogy of during undergraduate, you earn an 80% on an exam. Generally, that's great. But what you're actually saying is there's 20% of that material that you don't know. So it's important that you go back and review and really study that foundation. As you continue on your path, the load is going to increase and you won't have that foundational background that you missed because you got an 80%. There's 20% of the material still missing. So the goal is not really to learn everything though, but to identify what are those fundamentals that you need to build to create the foundation for your knowledge and research. So now getting to know the actual literature. One research paper is not equal to another research paper. So try to select papers that help you achieve a specific aim, identify common concepts, identify common techniques and methods. And one approach that you can utilize is look at really the key major breakthrough research papers in your field. Really take time to understand the vocabulary, understand the thinking, understand the methods, understand the key parts from each one of those research papers that affect, of course, your specific field. From there, you then look at research papers that had incremental work on top of the major breakthrough research. But you first have to understand the key fundamental breakthroughs, and then because you've taken so much time to really refine and develop the skill set in the major breakthroughs, when you go to read the research papers that had the incremental progress of research added on top of the major breakthrough, you'll be much more effective and much faster in reading those papers because you spent so much time on the foundation. And he really hits home the idea of focus on the foundations, focus on skills before going for results. Take a year, take a few years to really learn your craft before you're really aiming for results, publications, and whatnot. Next, how do you go about actually developing your skill sets? Well, he talks about the importance of practice, test, and then refine every part of your process. For example, if you take a 10,000 person survey, the results will be limited by the quality of processes that you actually follow. For example, imagine in the survey, there's this one question that's very ambiguous, so you don't get really accurate information. But if you would have taken time to really understand the literature or understand that specific field, you would have known how to phrase the question in a much clearer way for the people taking the survey. So the results are limited by the quality of the processes that you follow. Also, if you want to develop your skill sets, but you're getting stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. Go to conferences, go to people in your lab, in your institute, and have an expert in that field explain a topic to you. Be willing to take 15, 20 minutes, have a conversation with them, and just have them explain it to you. Because, at the end of the day, you're this dummy that's just trying to learn information. Great. Tell them, hey, I don't know this concept. Can you please just take some time with me to help explain it to me? Would love to learn more from you and pick your brain. Usually people are more than willing to help you out, explain things to you, and have a conversation with you about it. Then he talks about the 3 changes that saved his PhD. Focus on doing each part as carefully as possible. Really showing up each day, each moment, and doing the best that you can with what you've got. And secondly, he stopped any of his bad habits and distractions. Why? This allows you to just sit with the problem and think about the problem, facing it head on. Go for a walk, but stay with the problem. Allow yourself time to just exist with said problem. And thirdly, he stopped worrying about the end result. Instead of thinking and stressing yourself about, I need to publish a paper, I need to get this result. No. Go back to focusing on each component part, each single thing that you're doing for that moment, for that day, and just give it your best in that thing. And as you really refine each step, each process, the result will just be the end result. But you approached each step 100% of the way. Those are my key takeaways on the basic principles every PhD student needs to know. But one last little tidbit I want to share with you. James talks about imposter syndrome. Now, I know this is something that I've had to also struggle with and deal with. I'm trying to figure out as I go. And he talks about, what if the examiner asks me something very basic, a very basic question that I don't know the answer to? What if they point out a mistake in my research? He says, just focus on what you can control. What I found to be true with imposter syndrome is shine a light on that weakness, on that skill set that you're sort of afraid to talk about. Because instead of waiting for someone else to point out that weakness, you can just be honest and upfront talking about, this is actually something I'm weak in, but then you can face the problem, acknowledge it, and just continually improve on that skill set, work towards improving that skill set. So I thought that was really cool. He was willing to share and talk about his experience with imposter syndrome. It really makes you realize most people generally are dealing with imposter syndrome to some degree, but it's important to have confidence, accept the risks, give it your best, and trust in yourself that you'll figure things out as you go. And again, if you want my typed up PDF notes, check out the link down below. Completely free resource for you. And if you want me to do more videos in this sort of style, just kind of reviewing, condensing different resources for you guys, comment down below some of your favorite videos, resources, and whatnot. Happy to try another video. So the 3 main objectives of a PhD: get to know the literature, develop professional level research skills, and demonstrate that knowledge and skill through projects and writing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for your time.